Well, would you believe it? It is the end of April already. 2025 really is flying by. But I thought I'd make a little update video because I am aware that at the end of last year, I made a lot of promises to you guys regarding the content I'd be putting out in 2025, but I haven't really stuck to that, unfortunately. And I feel I owe you an explanation as to why that is the case. There's also another issue that's been becoming more and more prominent lately that I want to address in this video as well. It's not something that I really wanted to have to address in this way because I don't want to be putting out content and statements that are having a go at some of you guys, but unfortunately there's an issue that's ongoing and it's reached a point now where I feel like it does need to be addressed. So with that being said, this video is going to be split into two parts. The first part is going to be me addressing why I haven't stuck to what I proposed at the end of last year regarding content. And then in the second half of the video, I'm going to address the issue that I just touched on and hopefully clear everything up for you all. So about halfway through 2024, when I finished university, I uploaded a video in which I proposed a lot of different content plans, but I essentially didn't stick to those for various reasons. And so at the end of 2024, I uploaded another video explaining why I didn't stick to those plans and what my plans were for 2025, and I was adamant in that video that I would definitely be sticking to these plans, which were pretty ambitious to say the least. I said that throughout this year I'd be uploading twice per week, I'd be starting a talk show, podcast type thing in close season in which I'd be interviewing people in the theme park industry, I'd be releasing an app in spring 2025 called Park Buddy, and now I'm sat here and history is essentially repeating itself because, again, I haven't stuck to those plans. So what is my excuse this time for having not stuck to my plans? First of all, I just want to blow this one out the window straight away. It's got nothing to do with mental health or any of the reasons I discuss in my end of 2024 reflections video. You definitely do need to go and check out that, by the way, after you finish watching this video to get the full context of what I'm discussing here. I'm not going to repeat myself when there's already a video on the channel explaining it all. The issues that have prevented me from sticking to what I said this time, unfortunately, are completely out of my control, really. Something, unfortunately, cropped up in around about February time. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. I'm discussing it right here, right now, and I'm not going to discuss it any further. But something essentially cropped up in my personal life, and it essentially came down to that at some point later this year I might have had to stop making content altogether or switch up the content a lot on this channel, and because of that I essentially didn't want to commit to anything too heavily. I didn't want to start the talk show I discussed about to have to stop it again. I didn't want to experiment with a load of new content to have to stop that. And so I essentially decided to just keep the channel on the back burner for a little bit and upload less regularly, stick to the content that I'd been doing in 2024, so that if it did come to the point where I had to stop the channel or dramatically change up the content, I hadn't committed to something wholeheartedly to then have to let you down massively, if that makes sense. I didn't want that for you guys. But I'm happy to say that that issue is now resolved. The channel is not going to be stopping. I'm not going to have to change up the content at all. So I've got the all clear now. That's nothing to worry about anymore. I just wanted to offer you a full explanation on that side of things, really. Another issue that, don't get me wrong, is more minor but has still affected content production is that in early February, a family member underwent a major operation, and as a result of that, it was a family member who lives in this house, by the way. I'm not going to go into any more detail than that about it because it's obviously personal to them, and I don't think it's right for me to discuss that publicly on this channel when it's their matter. As a result of that operation, which completely happened out the blue, we literally found out it was happening on the day it went on to happen. The family have been at home a lot more, and I just find it quite difficult to film sit-down videos here when there's a lot of people in the house. I prefer to do that when I'm either home alone or there's only one or two people in, as it can be quite disruptive when all four of us are at home. So there just hasn't been as many opportunities for me to sit down here and make this style of content, and as a result of that, compounded with all the issues surrounding me potentially having to stop this channel or change up the content, I haven't uploaded very much. So what is going to be happening going forward? Well, we're essentially going to be having here on Thrillnet the big restart. I totally didn't steal that term from the season launch event of a very overrated theme park in Staffordshire. But as I said, the issue regarding me potentially having to stop this channel, etc. is resolved. The family member has now recovered from their operation and they're back doing their regular daily activities, meaning I'm home alone more and there's less people in the house more often, and therefore I have the same opportunities I had previously to film content again, which is great. So everything that I said in that end of 2024 video now stands once again. I'm going to be uploading when possible 2 uploads a week. The reason I say when possible is because I still have other responsibilities. I'm still job searching, etc., which I've touched on before. Stuff can be quite spontaneous in terms of job opportunities. I might get invited to an interview with quite short notice and need to prepare for and attend to that. So I can't necessarily always promise that I'm going to be uploading twice a week on 2 given days of the week, but my aim is to keep it to twice a week whenever possible. I'm also going to be experimenting with content more, as I explained in that end of 2024 video. So I'm going to be doing more Planet Coaster Challenge videos, which I've trialed in previous years and they've gone down well, and I've just kind of not gone back to it for a good couple of years. And they're really fun videos to make, so I want to start doing those again. Virtual towers as well. I haven't done a virtual towers video since 2020. For those who aren't aware, Virtual Towers is a full 1-to-1 scale recreation of Alton Towers that's being developed in Unreal Engine, and it's really good, and there's been a couple of big updates for that recently, so I definitely want to start doing videos related to that again. And besides that, I just want to cover more parks in the same level of detail as I do Pleasure Beach. I'm aware my channel's very Pleasure Beach focused at the moment, and that's great because the Pleasure Beach content does really well, but there's only so many Pleasure Beach fans out there, and so over time I really do want to branch out to more parks, covering them in as much detail as I do my local. I aim to start the talk show I've explained about previously in May. I want the first guest on that to be Josh from Theme Park Mad, because there's no better person for that. It'd be wrong to choose anyone else, and he's got some exams and stuff going on at the moment, but he should be finished with all that sort of mid-May to late May time, so I aim to start the talk show then. Now, as for the app I'm developing, Park Buddy, to assist you with planning your theme park trips, again, there's a full explanation of what that's all about in the end of 2024 reflections video. Don't get me wrong, I have actually been working on that really heavily throughout this time where the channel's been in limbo, as I've been unsure whether I've been able to continue it or not, and it's been coming together really well. However, I'm still unsure whether I'm going to be able to meet that spring deadline. Don't get me wrong, guys, Park Buddy is admittedly the least of my priorities at the moment, because if I don't upload videos regularly for you guys, the channel suffers. If I don't submit job applications in time, I miss out on potential job opportunities. If I don't work on the Park Buddy app, there's no real consequences to that. And with things in those other 2 areas being quite spontaneous, for example, a park can release some major news that I need to make a video on, or a big job opportunity can come up that I need to apply to, I could get invited to an interview, etc. It can be difficult to predict how long progress is going to take on the app. So with that being said, don't be surprised if I don't release anything for a good 3 to 6 months yet, I'd say. I know it's not the news a lot of you probably want to hear. However, I do aim to release some form of teaser within the next few weeks, even if it's just a couple of screenshots to get you excited. And I'm going to be keeping you up to date with the progress of it as it develops. So don't worry, I've not forgotten about it, and I'm going to be keeping you well informed. And that brings me nicely on to addressing the issue I touched on at the start of this video. Now, things are going to get a little bit serious here, guys, so we're going to stop the music. Now, before we get into things, I just want to clarify first of all that this doesn't apply to 90 to 95% of you. So if it doesn't apply to you, I don't want you to feel attacked by this, but it is something to keep in mind regardless. And for the people who this does apply to, then please do listen to this very carefully. I don't want you to feel attacked in any way either, but it is something I need to get across to you, because it is affecting my enjoyment of parks, unfortunately. Now, it's something that's come to the attention of both me and Josh from Theme Park Mad. It's affecting both of our channels, and it's something that we've both addressed in videos, and I also made an Instagram story about it as well. But essentially, with us having done this YouTube stuff for a good few years now, we often get recognised by you guys at the parks, and we absolutely love talking to you, potentially for 2, 5, 10 minutes, getting photos sometimes. You know, if we see you in, for example, the Pleasure Beach Express station at Pleasure Beach, sitting with you guys on the train and having a chat, and then parting our own separate ways and enjoying the rest of our day, having had a great interaction with a fan and just buzzing from that. But with that being said, it has become apparent that a small number of people or fans have been attempting to tag along with us at parks, sometimes on a repeated basis. And I'm not on about what I just referred to here, the 2, 5, 10-minute chats, maybe do a ride together if we see each other in a ride queue line station environment, sit together on the train. I'm not on about that. I'm on about attempting to follow us around parks, spend extended periods of time with us, go on multiple rides with us, and just essentially crash our party. You know, we visit parks as a group of friends, and there's been numerous occasions where, you know, fans have just attempted to spend the day with us. And these attempts have materialised in various forms. We've seen it all, really. There's been occasions where we've run into a fan at the park and they've just then persisted to follow us around. We've had messages from people, DMs, comments on videos from people asking us when we're next at a park, and then when we respond to that, people stating, oh, well, I'll come along, and that sort of thing. There's been occasions where we've run into fans on park and they've asked the question something along the lines of, where are you going now? Follow me to this place. Will you walk with me to such and such a place? And then that sort of materialised into us being followed around the park. And there's even been 1 or 2 occasions where channels have publicly stated that they've arranged to meet up with us, knowing that we're going to a park on a given day, when that hasn't been the case at all. And I'm sorry to say that this sort of behaviour is not okay. It's not something that I appreciate. It's not something that Josh from Theme Park Mad appreciates. And it's not something that the friends we visit parks with regularly, Danielle, Tegan, etc., appreciate either. And it's been happening more and more regularly. It first started around about 12 months ago. It's something that I started to clock on to. I think Josh, you know, Josh is a lovely person, and he was always quite nice about it with people. And it just got to a point where it was getting a bit out of hand, and I said to Josh, look, this needs to stop. I'm not happy that this keeps happening. And then it just got worse and worse from there, and it really started to annoy him as well. It's now reached a point where we visit Pleasure Beach pretty much every week, and we now always have to be on the lookout for people attempting to do this. And it's just not on at all. And the reason it's not okay is because it's an invasion of our privacy. You know, we do YouTube, and we appreciate that you admire what we do on our channels, but at the end of the day, we're human beings, and we visit these parks with groups of friends. We don't just visit for YouTube, we visit for the social element. And whenever a fan attempts to follow us, it completely disrupts that. There seems to be a tendency with these people where as soon as they meet us, they immediately assume and act as if they're best friends with us, and that simply just isn't the case. Sure, we have in common the fact that we enjoy theme parks. Sure, me and Josh originally bonded over being fans of each other's channels, but we became friends through a much deeper connection than that. It became apparent that we had similar values, we had a similar sense of humour, we had a similar upbringing to an extent, and that's what formed our friendship. It was more than just us having a shared interest of theme parks and both running theme park YouTube channels. Now, don't get me wrong, both me and Josh are very real when it comes to what we say online. We're honest, we're constructive, we're authentic in what we say. But with that being said, we still place a filter on ourselves. We present the best and most professional, I guess you could say, versions of ourselves on our YouTube channels, and we only talk about things and say things that we're comfortable with the world seeing. When we're on Park as a group, we will often say and do things that we're not comfortable sharing publicly, but that form part of the bond that we have as friends. For instance, you know, we don't swear on either of our YouTube channels. We keep things family friendly. We just had someone walk out the complete wrong direction. We have our own inside jokes that we wouldn't feel comfortable discussing on our YouTube channels. You know, we keep things PG on YouTube. We have personal lives that we discuss when we're socialising with each other, and we support each other in that. We bond over that, etc, etc. And when you guys are following us around the parks and crashing our party, we can't enjoy the company of each other fully because we have to stay in YouTuber mode because we have someone else with us. We have someone who is essentially, and I'm sorry if this sounds rude or harsh, but essentially a total stranger. You might be a fan of the channel, but you don't know us personally. It's no different to any stranger following us around Pleasure Beach. Would you be comfortable with some random person following you around the theme park? Probably not. And that's the same scenario as we essentially have here, except the only thing we have in common is that we have that bond over theme parks. Now, this is often the case, and it's especially awkward in this case, where the person doing this only recognises one of the channels and doesn't even acknowledge the other person running the other channel or any of the other people in the group. Sure, they might have seen the other individuals in the group in videos on that person's channel, but they're only really here for that one person. And this often happens with Josh because, yes, me and Josh have similar followings, but he is the slightly more established channel because he's uploaded more videos over time, and so his channel's slightly bigger as a result of that. Often fans will come up to him and they'll be all over him, but they won't acknowledge me, they won't acknowledge Danielle, and they won't acknowledge Tegan. Now, Danielle and Tegan I feel especially sorry for in all of these scenarios because regardless of who's been recognised, either me or Josh, they barely ever get acknowledged. And I know for a fact that they can feel quite left out in these scenarios. Danielle especially, I've noticed, she'll often, when a fan recognises Josh, she'll often drag me to one side or whatever to talk about whatever's going on in her personal life she wants to talk about, or whatever she's interested in my personal life, whatever it might be that she obviously doesn't want to talk about in front of a complete stranger. So this is what I mean. When you're doing this, when you're attempting to follow us around parks, it completely disrupts that group dynamic. And I get why you'd only be interested in the person running the channel that you're a fan of, but just keep in mind that when you're attempting to follow us around parks, this is what it causes, and this is why interactions need to be kept to 2, 5, 10 minutes. And recognise that that initial interaction, so to speak, the conversation that establishes when you recognise us is going to start to come to a close. And when that happens, recognise that you've had your interaction and go and enjoy the rest of your day. Another issue with you guys attempting to follow us around is that I have Easy Pass, which is obviously the system for disabled visitors at Pleasure Beach, and we can only fit a maximum of 4 people on that, so there might not even be room on that for you to spend the day with us at parks if there's me, Josh, Danielle and Tegan going round as a group, for instance. And also, if you do want to be added to that, it costs an additional £5 per person if there's more than 2 people on it, and there always will be at least 2 people on it because I always visit parks accompanied by someone because I'm unable to visit parks on my own due to being visually impaired. And I hate to say it, but we're not going to be paying £5 to add a fan who's come up to us to an Easy Pass, unfortunately. That's not something we're prepared to do. I'm not entirely sure why exactly people do this following around stuff. I think potentially some people just don't have the social skills. They don't understand how to interact with a YouTuber appropriately, and I get that. I haven't always had the best social skills as well, so I can empathise with that. I hope this now clarifies it to you and you now understand how to interact with me and also Josh and just any other theme park YouTuber or any YouTuber for that matter when you recognise us in public. I think potentially there's also some smaller creators out there who are doing it for clout. They're hoping to benefit off our success, hopefully getting our vlogs as much as possible and benefit from that. I think there's other people who potentially do it because they recognise that we have Easy Pass and they try and take advantage of that, and I've explained already why that's not happening. And I'll tell you now, if you are someone who's prepared to abuse, because that's what it would be, our Easy Pass to boost your ride count, you know, come on a ride with us, and then when we get a time on our cards, so when we can go on the next ride, just leave us and go on a ride of your own, or do anything like that, then get off this channel, I don't want to know you. And I think another possible reason that people do it as well is because they're at a park on their own and they're potentially lonely. They don't have the luxury of friends who they can visit parks with. And okay, I understand that. I've been in that position myself, but I'm sorry, it doesn't give you an excuse to do this to us. I do apologise, but don't get me wrong, you can message us all you want online. Our DMs on Twitter and Instagram are always open. And, you know, message other enthusiasts as well if you wish. And I'm sure you'll make some friends who you can go to parks with. But at the end of the day, I'm at Pleasure Beach to enjoy the place with my group of friends. You know, if you do end up messaging us a lot and we end up becoming friends, sure, maybe you could be introduced to the group and we'll arrange to spend the day with each other in advance, and that's all fine. But otherwise, please just respect our privacy. I do want to touch on the potential reason that people do it for clout in a bit more detail though, because this one does grind my gears, as I can tell you from personal experience that it does not work. Now, I don't hang around with Josh from Theme Park Mad for clout, you know, we have a genuine connection, a genuine friendship. But I'll tell you now, I do not benefit off the success of his channel. His channel's obviously slightly bigger than mine. I'll tell you right now, all he ever gets is floods and floods of support. It's mental. The last 10 minutes of his final vlog of the 2024 season at Pleasure Beach is him getting absolutely flooded with sympathy and well done, you've achieved so much this year. Massive shout out to Bradley and Tegan. And don't get me wrong, what they said was very true. Josh did achieve a lot in 2024. He's come so far since I first met him back in 2019. It's genuinely, I'm thrilled for him. He's doing really well for himself. He got invited to a press event last year for a brand new scare attraction, the Curse of Bermuda Falls. He got put on the PR list for Pleasure Beach shopping, etc, etc. No one has a bad word to say about him, right? No one in his comments. I've barely ever seen any negative comments on his videos. Now, I know I just said that his channel's slightly bigger than mine in terms of numbers, but not by much. I'll tell you that now. And honestly, numbers don't mean anything, because even though my numbers are relatively similar, I don't get anywhere near that much support. I'm going to be honest. I'm not looking for sympathy here, but I don't get nearly as many people coming up to me in parks. I didn't get a massive sympathy speech at the end of my 2024 closing day vlog from Pleasure Beach. I didn't get invited to the Curse of Bermuda Falls. And I'm not on the PR list for Pleasure Beach shopping. And that is despite me appearing in the majority of his videos. And he'll constantly refer to me as ThrillNet, shout out my channel, etc, etc. But I don't get recognised nearly as much at parks. My comments, while still mostly positive, I definitely get more negative comments on my channel than he does. ThrillNet of the Future just jumping in here quickly. It's been around about a week since I filmed that video. I'm just editing it now, and since then I've had a bit of a whole reflection on this situation. And literally, I'm not even kidding, half the time when people recognise Josh in parks, and I'm talking about Pleasure Beach fans who visit every week just like us, I genuinely feel invisible half the time. I genuinely barely get acknowledged. It's literally reached a point where I've genuinely considered just switching up the content completely, because clearly it just feels like I'm not bringing any value to the whole Pleasure Beach niche. Like, don't get me wrong, my Pleasure Beach content does really well numbers wise, but as I'm trying to get across in this section of the video, I don't give a damn about numbers, and neither should you. You shouldn't chase the clout, because at the end of the day, what matters is the value that that content is bringing to people and how much that shows. And it just shows far more in terms of Josh than it does for me, because I simply just don't get the interactions on Park with fans of Pleasure Beach that he does. And so regardless of what the numbers say, it's really caused me to question at times, do I need to change things up completely? What do I need to do? Do I need to stop doing Pleasure Beach content? What is the future of this channel? Now, I obviously proposed a lot of ideas last year and at the beginning of this video, and going through it all now, editing it, I do think some of those ideas are really great. So we're going to see what happens over the next few months. I'm going to go all in with them. I'm still going to continue the Pleasure Beach content because I really enjoy doing it, but at times it just doesn't feel like I'm bringing any value to you guys. And please let me know down in the comments below if you feel any different, because at the end of the day, your thoughts and what you want this channel to be are my top priority, because you are my audience and you are the people that turn up every week to watch me talk to a camera. I created this YouTube channel in 2016. I started going all in with it in 2019 at a time when I was very lonely, with the intention of making friends. And yeah, that was somewhat successful, but now it doesn't even feel like at times the people at my home park are recognising what I'm putting in. And I work hard on this channel, and I've got a whole segment on that coming up in a minute, so stay tuned. And I'm not looking for sympathy here, but I just want to bring value to people with this channel, and it's just a question of, am I doing it? How do I do that? Josh is doing so well for himself. He's making those connections at Pleasure Beach now. He's got industry contacts, I guess you could say, to an extent that he could class as friends. And I want to do the same for me, but I don't want to be a carbon copy of him. And I sometimes feel like I slip into that territory non-intentionally, and I feel like it's time to switch things up. So yeah, share your thoughts in the comments below. I've already proposed, as I said, some ideas that I discussed in detail at the start of this video and at the end of last year. But that's all I wanted to add, really. Back to ThrilNet of the past. So that just goes to show that viewers don't necessarily transfer between channels when a person on one channel appears on another person's channel. And I work hard on this channel as well. As I said before, I'm visually impaired, and I literally do everything myself. I film these videos myself. I film my vlogs on a phone, you've probably noticed at the parks, just because it has a bigger viewfinder than your average camera. So it's easier for me to see what I'm doing. And, you know, Danielle will occasionally assist with camera angles, etc. She helps me out a lot. And I guess it's great for her that she gets to be a part of a YouTube channel in a sense, because she doesn't obviously have her own theme park YouTube channel, so to speak. But literally, I edit everything myself. I make my thumbnails myself. And I wouldn't want it to be any other way, because then I wouldn't feel that I'd be expressing myself authentically. I have to work so hard to make this channel what it is, and with having a visual impairment, things take longer than it would if I didn't. It probably takes me, I guess, about 50 to 100% longer to edit a video than it would for someone who's fully sighted. I don't know that for sure, but that's just a guesstimate based off how much sight I have. But the message I'm trying to get across here is that you need to work if you want to become successful on YouTube. You can't just rely on others for clout. So instead of doing that to us, so to speak, if you are doing that to us, I don't know for sure that anyone is, focus on your own content. A lot of my most successful videos on this channel don't even feature Josh in them. They are video ideas that he hasn't even done before, and they've been filmed sat here. And I'm sure that if I continue with this over time, similar opportunities will come up to what Josh has been fortunate enough to get over the past year. But there we go. As I said, we'd love to hear from you guys, the fans. We love going through your comments, replying to your comments. You're always welcome to DM us, tag us, etc. Whatever you want to do on social media. Our DMs are always open. We're always here for a chat if needs be. But when it comes to parks, please just respect our privacy and keep the interactions quick. As I said, you know, 2, 5, 10 minute chats, whatever. photos, etc, etc. Maybe do a ride if we're in the area. Pleasure Beach Express, as I said, is always a great one. Who knows, in the distant future, we may even arrange a ThrillNet times Theme Park Mad meetup in which you fans can spend a day with us. But otherwise, please just take on board what I've said in this video. For those of you who that doesn't apply to, thank you for being legends and respecting us. For those who this does apply to, I hope that you now understand. And if this has offended anyone, sorry not sorry, I guess. To check out a video that was completely filmed and edited and uploaded, and the thumbnail was made of by me, that I'm very happy with, that was uploaded recently, click the video on the right side of your screen. It is my Blackpool Pleasure Beach vlog from the most recent Twilight Thrills event. And for more things theme park related in the UK and beyond, make sure you click the icon in the centre of your screen to subscribe.